the Fantasy Ruckers partnering up with Scrummy here for the championship week.
TFR Betting Challenge.
All right, TFR Betting Challenge, and boy, do we have a betting challenge for you. Get on Scrummy, play the championship week with us, and see if you can take down the first overall ranked team in the first season of Scrummy, in the first season that we've been doing this. 83.9 points in the semifinals is good enough for fifth. But hey, we've been running away with it all season long, the Fantasy Ruckers team, in terms of this new game. And I wouldn't say, James, that it would be anything but expected for us to be somewhat decent at a fantasy game. To say that we are ranked first out of almost 4,000 people may have been something that even we couldn't have predicted. But either way, we put our Fantasy Ruckers skills to the test here, what we've been learning over these 5 years, and it seems to have paid off.
Yeah, I mean you're running away with it. What is it? You're 55 points ahead of everyone. There's only two people above 900 and you're over 950. Like it would be concerning if you guys weren't in the lead, to be honest. But I mean, I don't think I can catch you. I'm over 100 points behind you down in lowly third, but we'll see. I might be able to get into
anything's
second.
possible here. And hey, we're just hitting the reset button. Yeah, we can talk about the overall rankings, but this is the championship. We're gonna see and put the money where the mouth is in terms of these two teams here. I will want to give a shout out to Bucky Rugger 2 on Scrummy, who is CJ Rugger on our Discord and in our Fantasy Ruckers leagues.
Oh, that's who that is.
He is also a fantasy MLR champion, or in this one as well, in the Fantasy Ruckers League. So not surprising to see him being the other 900 plus point scorer in this one. But hey, you're right there in third, James. 845.8
long way back.
points for you. Either way, third place is still a podium finish in my books. And what better way than to lead off this segment with two guys out of the three that are in that top three. Been a fun year. Interesting, very similar to the TFR Weekly Challenge that we've done in the past. And if you haven't tried out Scrummy, again, it's basically you create a lineup very similar to your overseas type European style fantasy rugby that you've seen, where you pick a lineup based on a salary that you had. In this case, they use Scrummy coins, and you have 130 to pick. There are a handful of guys in there that have been my absolute gems, which we'll get into here in just a bit. But overall, though, I do think there are a lot of parallels in terms of strategy that I've learned over the course of the 5 years that I've been doing the Fantasy Ruckers. I know completely different format with us being the draft style, North American style, that, but some of the philosophies and I guess ways to kind of game the fantasy ethos were definitely apparent here as I was navigating this new thing of Scrummy.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be eagle-eyed to catch them, though. You still
It is true.
Have to have a look. You have to dive through, but it's a really cool way of kind of gamifying it. It kind of reminds me of exactly what you guys do with Fantasy Ruckers. You just choose one player in pretty much every position. There's front row, second row, back row, halfback, center, back three. Pick a best that fit within the budget and a super sub as it is.
Yeah.
Really, really fun way, really quick and easy. Doesn't take more than 5 minutes a week, to be honest. And then you can see if you're lucky enough, like two of us, straight to win.
Exactly. Just ways to put stakes in the game and obviously get a fan of these players. And again, different game theory when it comes to this. Of course, with our draft emphasis oriented type style, you're working with the same players all season long. The way I view these types of styles with the European style is it really is efficiency. That's what it comes down to. How do you get the most bang for your buck? And that's the biggest advice that I'm going to give to people out there planning to play in the championship weekend of Scrummy is get your bang for your buck. And let me tell you, there are going to be guys this week that you're going to be able to do that, because these have been my two favorite teams to lean into, both the Chicago Hounds and the California Legion, to get me fantasy points. So again, going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to break down a couple players here before we wrap up this segment. All I want to say though is, apparently there's going to be some new formats coming up here in this weekend, one being head to head, where you're going to be able to select one other person to be able to kind of really emphasize how we're doing that. So that's where I lend the invitation to you, James. I think we got to have a little bit of a friendly competition here.
Oh,
Once this
really?
head-to-head stuff comes out, let's do a head-to-head. Championship weekend only matters. Let's throw out the plus 900 points. Let's see who can get it done here in this championship weekend. So you and I,
Okay, you're
let's go
on.
head-to-head here. We'll
I'm
see how
just,
it goes.
I'm
So
looking at it right now. You're on.
all right, here we go. So we'll find out the winner here next week, and it's going to be fun. Okay, couple guys. Not going to give away too much stuff because I don't want to give James, now my arch nemesis here, despite being my co-host, too much inside information. But guys that have been a whole lot of fun to have on your roster, and we'll break this more down here in this upcoming week's Rucking Rundown episode, where Maddie and I reveal our lineup for the Fantasy Ruckers squad and guys that we're really looking at as home run hitters and fantasy MVPs. MVPs though this season for me, Theo Furry. He's been a fantasy MVP for the
Hmm.
Fantasy Ruckers. He's a fantasy MVP for Scrummy as well. It is mind-boggling that this guy, who is a try machine, a guy that is the marquee hooker, plays a whole bunch of minutes for the best team in all of MLR, is still not maxed out in price. It looks like the top dollar that you can spend is 26 on some of these guys. Theo Furry has been 21 like all season long. I have been banging him home and finding a way to get him in my lineup. We talk about bang for your buck. Theo Furry, even at a scrummy coin price of over 20, has been my go-to every single week.
Yeah, I mean that's easy. I mean, what a replacement for Dylan Fawcett, first of all. But like you get no drop off at all, and like what a season he's having. 10 tries in 11 games is dumb. Like
Yeah,
it's stupid. And I
yeah.
mean, 21 is a bit pricey considering you've only got 130, but it's gonna be worth it. Like you said, it's 5 off max. I think I've seen the same thing. 26 is the maximum.
Yeah.
21 is cheap for a player like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Then there are guys though that you do want to pay top dollar on because there's a handful select that even at top dollar, they're still bang for your buck. And
Hmm.
that guy for me has been Gonzalo Bertranu, who I've said set as captain every single week because this guy touches the
Me too.
ball the most. 25 coins, so one off of what is supposed to be the highest. Pretty penny to pay. But at Gonzalo Bertrano, who is going to get you points every single week, it's a no-brainer for me. So really, those two guys, Theo Furry and Gonzalo Bertrano, have been my locks all season long and a big part of why consistently every single week, you may not win every week, but they're going to at least give you a shot to be in that
Hmm.
top five. And that's exactly what you want to be in this championship weekend. And guess what? They're both playing this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you said he's worth every single penny of the 25. You're absolutely right. And one thing I just want to throw out is if you want a real bargain bin find, Ed Timpson is 10 coins.
Yes. Yep. Had him in my lineup this week.
He's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
He's got the
Yeah.
most meters of any forward. He's not particularly there on tries, but he's got most defenders beaten in the league. Like that is a lot.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
but you've got to search for these steals.
He was
And
my saving grace. He was my saving grace in terms of I wanted to get
yeah,
some people in my line. Like I obviously wanted to keep Bertrand in. I wanted to keep Theo Furry in. And
the only
for
way you can
me,
find you can afford, two or three of these big money players is to find steals like that.
exactly. The other guy, and this is where it kind of gets into the game theory of what I've learned from Fantasy Ruckers. Positions there are certain positions that are more valuable
I know exactly
in
where you're going with
Fantasy
this.
Ruckers, right? The back row position, their involvement in the offense gives them the upper hand in, let's say, a second row player. You look down the list, oh, Mason Flesh is starting at the back row position, number 6. Oh, he's listed as a second row player in Scrummy. Into the lineup you go because you're getting back row points at a position that tends to get less fantasy
Yeah,
points here um,
second
in
row
my
is
lineup.
is where points go to die.
Yep.
Mason Flesh is probably the exception to that because even when he's at second row, he's still
Yeah.
scoring. He's up at 9 tries now. You've got to keep an eye out for these things. Now, Ryan, you've been doing fantasy for years. You
Hmm.
know what to look for. I don't really, but I'm starting to get it by playing Scrummy, and it's really satisfying when you go, oh, oh, that's interesting. There, I'll just put that
Yeah.
in.
Exactly, exactly. The amount of times that I've had a whole bunch of screens opened up on my computer to look at, okay, here's every single lineup. All right, let's scroll through the list here. So, hey, make sure to catch this week's Rucking Rundown episode where Maddie and I help you find some of those sneaky plays as we head closer in to the final coming up this Sunday. We'll see how much our lineup changes from last week, just to give people a sneak peek. It was Theo Furry, Mason Flesh, Ed Timpson, Gonzalo Bertranu, Cash Malawiya, and Duncan Matthews that was in our lineup here in the semifinals. Obviously, at least one of those will have to change with Matthews. How much does that change here coming up? I don't know. But as a fantasy MLR guy, couldn't be more excited that it's California and Chicago in the final because I'm counting on there being a whole bunch of points, as noted in our predictions and the final score that we think is going to happen. So either
Watch it
way,
be like 14-10 or something.
yeah, I know, especially in the rain. No kidding.
Yeah.
Either way, hop on Scrummy. Take us on. See if you can take down the number one and the number three players on the app this year in a championship showdown here in a partnership between the Fantasy Ruckers and Scrum.